Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. I just wanted to do a really quick update on the tank. It's been a month of disasters, honestly. So we had a couple of weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago now, we had a 7-hour power cut. And it was just getting to the point where I think I was about to start losing everything. So I came down and a lot of the fish were either dead or on the sand bed upside down, sort of breathing very heavily. I sort of started to try and aerate the tank a bit, so I don't have any power backup or anything, right? Power cuts are really uncommon in the UK, so I don't think many people do, but definitely now I'm going to invest in one. But yeah, so basically the temperature didn't drop too much. It got down to around 19 degrees, which was fine, but it was really the lack of circulation which led to a depletion of oxygen, I guess. And so yeah, I had a bunch of fish either dying or dead already, which was really unfortunate. Most stuff actually then made it through once I started to try and I had a whisk and I was whisking the surface of the tank. That seemed to help a bit, but then luckily about an hour later the power came back on. So I think, you know, if it had gone on any longer it would have been a real disaster, but luckily it came back on when it did, and I think it was just avoided sort of major disaster. So I lost, annoyingly, like my 3 favorite fish basically. So I lost the most painful one cost wise was the Swiss Guard basslet, of course, the most expensive fish was going to die. So that's gone, I'm afraid, and that's to me I feel like that's a kind of once in a lifetime fish. I'm not probably going to spend that money again on a fish, unfortunately. And they're also very rare to come across. Then I lost the geometric pygmy hawkfish, which is a real shame because that was a really nice bright red and I don't have any other red fish, and also it was a great character fish that I would get again. So again, you don't see them very often, but next time I see one I'll grab one. And then the other fish was another, you know, one of my favorite was the possum wrasse. Unfortunately that one went as well, so definitely that's one I will replace again too. I also decided, it was a difficult decision, but because I really loved the fish, but I decided to rehome the stark-eyed damsel. So I took him to the LFS. He was just getting too aggressive for this tank. The other fish just weren't coming out, weren't utilizing the space at all because they were kind of hiding from him. I noticed lots of fish had like tears in their tails and stuff, and you know, as beautiful as that fish was, I just don't think it was worth it, or you know, it wasn't going to work in this tank. So I took him back to the LFS, and I replaced him with, you might be able to see in the bottom right hand corner, a little bang-eye cardinal. So wanted to, you know, have one of those years ago, and decided it'd be nice to try one of those again, and sort of sticking with the theme of more sort of peaceful fish, I guess. So I think those are the changes fish wise. As I say, I'll try and replace some of those other fish, but yeah, for now, that's where we are. You can see that silver belly wrasse is getting ginormous. That might be one I have to rehome at some point as well if he gets too big for this tank. Again, a lot of the fish are hiding because they seem to hate the camera, but otherwise the rest seem to have all recovered pretty well from that power outage, and seem to be doing okay. And corals seem to be completely unaffected. But that brings me to my next issue that I've had this month. So we were away the last week in Cumbria, and we basically got back last night, so that's why the tank looks a bit rubbish. I've cleaned the front glass and that's about it. The side glass is still covered in algae, and yeah, I just thought I've got time now, I'll make a quick video. So it's not perfectly clean tank, but it is what it is. But yeah, that brings me to the second issue I had. So I do a lot to try and keep my pH high. So I use a CO2 scrubber on the skimmer. I dose Reef's Elements pH Plus, which is basically about 15% sodium hydroxide. So very similar to calc, but I guess it's more potent in a way, or rather you can dose less to achieve the same result. And I also actually recently started using kalkwasser as well. So about 50% of my alkalinity and calcium now comes from kalkwasser, because the reason why I did that is because it was just becoming very expensive. I was dosing about 45 mils of 2-part a day. and on 150 liters, so it's quite a lot, I think. And the resettlement stuff isn't especially expensive, I don't think, but it just seems silly to be dumping in RO every day when I could just add calc to that. I mean, I'm using a doser, but it's the same thing, right? So I have a little I guess it's basically a Kamoa doser single head pump continuously dripping in calc now. But anyway, so I basically do those three things to keep pH high, because all of those three remove essentially CO2 or carbonic acid from the water. But I had the issue that, of course, when we're not here, we're not breathing out CO2, so there's no carbonic acid. The CO2 in the air is, there's no CO2 basically, or there's less CO2 in the air reacting with the water to create carbonic acid, and so actually you don't really need all of those pH boosting effects. And so basically, the day after we left, my pH was hitting at 8.7 at the end of the day, and so I was starting to get really nervous, because if that just happens day on day, pH is going to go up to 12 or something maybe, and could kill everything. So I was getting really nervous, and luckily I have all the Reef factory dosers and pH meters and KH keeper or whatever it's called, and so I could see all of this going on. And so basically what I decided to do was halve the only thing I couldn't do was stop the calc wasser, because I haven't got that set up on Wi-Fi yet, but I could basically what I decided to do was halve my 2-part dosing, and to only dose that in the day, so that the pH would drop a lot at night, because if I dosed it at night, my pH just stayed completely stable, right? So it mean I was starting the day at 8.7. So basically did that, and that seems to have more or less saved the tank. So it meant that my KH fell, so it fell by the end of the week. It went from about 7.5 when we left to 5.3 by yesterday, basically, when we came back. So yeah, the KH at the moment in this tank is 5.3. Generally stuff doesn't seem affected. I was really expecting to come home and see bone white acropora, but there's a few frags which have paled out. So in particular I can see 3, 4, 5, 6 maybe, I guess, frags to small colonies, which have definitely paled out a bit, none of them exceptionally so. So I'm hoping that means that they'll colour back up once things stabilize and go back to normal, or I could still lose them, right? And actually maybe I'll see in a week's time or 2 weeks time or a month's time, lose everything, right? Because there's often these delayed effects with SPS corals, and when there's something that they don't like, you don't see the effect of it often for a few weeks or days. So it could still go south, but at least at the moment things seem to be okay. And I'm hoping that if I now, so now that we're back in the house breathing CO2 again, pH has basically gone back to normal levels, so 8.2 to 8.3 or 8.5 or whatever, depending on what time of day you look. And yeah, I'm slowly raising the DKH back up, and I'm using sodium bicarbonate, so which doesn't impact, or it doesn't raise pH at least, so I can adjust it with that and not basically boost pH anymore again. So yeah, so it's not been the easiest month in reefing, but generally it's been okay. Generally things look to be okay, so I'm hoping that, fingers crossed, everything turns out okay. But yeah, so I thought I would just give you a quick update on this tank as it currently stands. Maybe I'll lose everything by the next video, but yeah, hopefully not. Hopefully things will be okay. But yeah, I'll leave it there. Maybe just if you're going to go away and you're doing a lot of things like I do to keep pH high, maybe think about taking off the CO2 scrubber, or what I wish I'd done was put the skimmer on a Wi-Fi plug, so I could turn that off if pH got too high maybe. Yeah, otherwise I don't. Yeah, the other thing I could have done, I almost did get the neighbor to come in and turn off the kalkwasser, or turn off or switch out the pH boosting alkalinity part for the normal alkalinity part, which I also have. So maybe in the future I'd put that on a doser as well, so I can basically control things a bit better. But yeah, I just didn't think about it when I left, and it's kind of stupid of me. But yeah, I mean, you just don't realize as well how much it's the breathing, the CO2 that we're producing in the house that is impacting pH. But anyway, yeah, so maybe just bear that in mind, particularly if you're using something like sodium hydroxide, right, which is a really potent pH boosting 2-part or alkalinity supplement. So yeah, just bear that in mind. I obviously should have taken the CO2 scrubber off, although I don't know whether that would have made any difference if there's less CO2 in the air anyway, but maybe it would have been worth to take that off anyway. Right, I'll leave it there and I'll see you guys on the next one. Cheers for watching. Bye.